hearing? All good?
Yep.
All right. Let me know when you get the recording going. And
Started already.
Oh, good job. I love having to cut, you know. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the OS Talk. My name is Zetrod, joined with my other host, Deadbeat, today, and we have a very exciting interview, well, discussion, actually, planned for everyone today. How you doing, Deadbeat?
I'm still a little bit tired, but pretty good overall.
All right, I am very excited about this. We're going to be discussing the Aspire contest, the results, and all kinds of things about the mapping competition. We are actually joined with the Aspire host, which also, if I'm not mistaken, helped create the Aspire contest, Ephemeral. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good.
That's good. That's good. We're also joined with Fort. If I'm not mistaken, was he an honorable mention or was he a judge?
Mention.
An honorable mention.
Honorable mention, yes. I was pretty sure he was an honorable mention for the Aspire contest, doing very well, bringing some really cool stuff to the table as well. We also are joined with another honorable mention. This is kind of a combo pair here. We have Guinea Q as the translator for Taiyang, which was also an honorable mention in the Aspire contest. How are you two doing?
I'm doing fine. Let me translate this to Taeyang real quick.
No
그냥
problem.
뭐라도 인사말로 하나 얘기해 주시면.
Hello everyone. 네, 이제 초대해 주셔서 이제 감사하다고 이제 전해 주세요. 그렇게.
He said he thanks you all for inviting him.
All right, awesome. And then we also have one of our judges for the Aspire contest. And not like Ephemeral and myself, this was a judge that judged fully for the map set. And that's Okarin. How are you doing, man?
I'm also a bit tired, but I'm overall okay.
All right, well, we'll get this thing right underway, folks, and I appreciate everyone coming out here. So the first question is set for everyone, and you guys can just answer this in a round-robin order. What type of songs do you like or think would work well for Aspire mapping contests? And go ahead, Ephemeral, whenever
okay.
you're ready. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I suppose to start it off, I should say that to pick the songs for these Aspire contests takes months, like literal months. As in, I think I started looking for the Transform song maybe like 4 months before the actual contest got announced. So there's very strict criteria of kind of like bounciness they have to them. You know, the kind of like disjointed sort of everything smooshed together kind of sound that they need to have to actually be, you know, fun to map.
Yeah, I can understand that. So do you feel like mapping, like, does it have to be that type of music, or do you think something would work well inside of it, or does it need to be the same genre that it's been being?
I think it'll always be a very narrow genre that ends up getting picked because we're always kind of looking for the evanescent sound, basically. You know what I mean? The whole leaf kind of... It's that very, very signature disjointed sound, and that's what I was looking for in Transform as well. So yeah, I think it'll always be a pretty narrow band of music that we have in the Aspire contest.
All right, and what about you, Fort? Well, what kind of songs do you like, and what do you feel would work well for the Aspire mapping contest?
I think I like dubstep song. The kind of this Aspire is dubstep, so I think I like to join.
Yeah, so like you feel like electronica, dubstep, stuff like that is best suited. So that kind of falls in line with what Ephemeral was saying. It's kind of a narrow niche with like how that works. You know, you want to get the really electronic, really build up, hypey stuff, right?
Yeah, I really like that.
All right, that's cool. All right, and Guinea Q, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and relay that to Taeyang, and we'll go ahead and see what he has to say.
Alright. 태양님은 이번 어스파이어 맵핑 콘테스트 같은 경우에서 어떤 종류의 노래가 가장 적합하고 그런지에 대해서 자기에 대한 생각을 좀 말해줬으면.
지금도 이제 나쁘지는 않은데 개인적으로는 고분프 이제 하이 BPM 쪽이 이제 유저가 더 신나하지 않을까 생각하고 있어요, 저는.
So he thinks that the current song choices was also fine as well, but then he thinks deviating towards the higher BPM songs would be much more enjoyable for the user base in general.
한 가지 이제 더 말씀드리자면 개인적으로는 지금 상태도 나쁘지 않다고 생각해요. 2, 3분의 이제 리듬 표현 가능성이 풍부한 노래라서 지금도 괜찮다고 생각해요, 저는.
The current song is especially fine because it had a variety of rhythms that he could use to express creativity, I guess.
Yeah, and I really thought Transform was quite a decent song as well for the pick. I mean, it fit incredibly well, and it definitely topped the last Aspire contest. Even the honorable mentions kind of close, really pushed really close to what Charles had, and that was the winner. So, I mean, the bar has been raised incredibly. That being said, Okran, what do you think about the music choices for the Aspire contest, and what type of music would you like to see?
For Aspire contests, I think as a mapper, it is important to be able to map a variety of rhythms over the same thing. So the song should be pretty dense in order for you to be able to do something with it, which is creative, or like you can't just throw a generic 1/2 spam song at an Aspire contest and expect people to do really, really great entries on it. So I do agree with the other guys that you would need something which is complicated in rhythm and has very different, can be divided in very different sections. What I would also like to see as an option would maybe be bringing breakcore as a genre into this, because as a music genre it offers basically everything I just described as important.
Yeah, I could see that working. What about you, Deadbeat? I know you're not too big on the creative aspect of us when it comes to mapping and stuff, but do you feel like the Aspire contest could have anything other than the music genre that's kind of been set out, or do you feel like it can go over different horizons?
It's a bit of a weird one because the current genre we've been looking at works really well, but you could probably grab songs from like similar genres and stuff. It all kind of depends on the song itself, really.
That's true. I mean, I'd like to see happy hardcore stuff in there, but it kind of falls into a repetition, a lot of 1/4, and I just don't feel like there's enough like structure in the songs type themselves to work with Aspire, because Aspire is supposed to like push it to the limit of what you can do, how it can look visually, how it can play, and stuff like that. So it's really interesting though to get an idea of what everybody thinks about that, but it seems that everybody's pretty on the same line of feeling that. Go ahead.
I think D&B could work quite well, actually.
Drum and bass?
Yeah, drum and bass could work.
I could see drum and bass working if like the song had enough sections. Moving on to a question for our mappers here, which are going to be Fort and Taeyang.
Yeah.
We have what type of mapping techniques did you guys use that would otherwise be unrankable in your sets? And we'll start with Fort, and then we'll go to Taeyang after Fort's done.
I don't know. But, well, my map only contains some unrankable sliders and really fast SV. So it can be unrankable for some reason.
Yeah.
And in my map I put some double notes. Yeah, just like Mania mode.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and so what you took advantage of is you took advantage of the fact that you had no more limitations on sliders, you had no more limitations on slider velocity, and you use that to try to accentuate your vision in your map set, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
It's like my style in mapping, so I can deal with all SV.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to make SV like that, but yeah, it's fun.
Do you feel that even though it was unrankable, do you feel that you hit the playability margin pretty well for players? Have you had anyone state on your map currently that it's been too hard or anything like that, or has it just been mostly praise?
I don't know. Well, basically, I made my map for myself, and I think, well, I test the map, and if the map looks good, so well, I can give that map.
Yeah, and I understand that. You know, you map for fun, and that makes it a little bit easier to do things. And this was kind of just a break from having to worry about the ranking criteria so much, is to just create something that you saw fun and you didn't have to worry about too much with the ranking criteria. All right, well, thank you for that, Fort. I'm going to go ahead and, Guinea Q, go ahead and relay that same question to Taeyang, and let's see what he has to say.
Alright. 태양님은 이번 콘테스트에서 이제 랭킹 크라이테리아가 이제 적용이 안 되고 이제 원하는 대로 이제 마음껏 매핑할 수 있게 되는데, 그거를 발판 삼아서 어떤 종류의 매핑 테크닉을 많이 썼는지.
저는 주로 이제 EB 슬라이드를 이용해서 이제 슬라 사이에 넣는 걸 많이 썼었고, 이제 그 외에 사용한 거면 몰라이 슬라이드랑 이제 오프 스크린이랑 이제 스핀 사이에 노트 넣는 거, 그리고 이제 슬라이딩을 이제 스탑 시켜서 하는 그런 종류를 썼어요.
So he mostly utilized 2B sliders, pretty well known, and some of the Burai sliders, and he also utilized some of the off-screen sliders as well. And I think the last thing he said, let me ask him again. 그 마지막은 뭐였죠?
이제 스핀 사이에 노트 넣는 거, 이제 스탑 슬라이딩.
Like the whole sliders,
Mm-hmm.
and finally the putting notes in between the spinners.
Yeah, I actually, now that you go into it, because obviously we couldn't see whose maps were what, but one of the ones I ended up giving a higher score to, which I'm almost positive it's Taeyang's now at this point, was I stated that the 2-button slider usage, I had seen it quite a bit in the contest already, but it had never felt like it was fair. And that map set, I actually got the feeling that, hey, even though these 2-button sliders are here, they're fair. I don't feel like it's something crazy. So that was actually really fun to play.
Yeah, just like in Mania in Orsu, that double notes, it's really fun.
Yeah, and it can be used by all kinds of things. So we'll move this on to the next one, and this is for everyone here. Now, do you think any of these techniques that we've saw used in the Aspire can be brought into the current mapping meta? And we'll first off get this from Ephemeral and see what he has to say about this. What do you think, man?
That's a tough one, because a lot of them break the game in really, really weird ways. That's kind of the whole point of the contest.
Yeah.
But the 2B shit in particular, I'm so fond of 2B stuff. I love it. Like the first time I saw the 2E map with it, I was just like, this is fucking cool. Oh, there you go. I've already given you work to do. But
Thanks.
I just want to see it become a real thing, like an actual rankable mechanic. I'd love to see 2B become a thing, but I'm pretty sure Peppy would have like an aneurysm if he actually saw it.
A double
So-
aneurysm.
He'd be like, ugh. Yeah, no, I think 2B and hold sliders in particular. I think this Aspire, the results this time around, because we only had a few people in the first one really bother with hold sliders. But this time we had, I think it was a good like 10-20% of the entries use hold sliders, and some of them were just so well made.
And I feel like talking about that aspect right there, Ephemeral, holds are probably the one thing that technically is not rankable now that we probably will see being rankable at some point in time. I'm not saying
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
guarantee, but it just feels like with the natural evolution of mapping and how it's been going and where it's going to and how the meta changes, holds are not something that people need to fear anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, most people, like, the stuff they can play is just outright outlandish anyways. So
I agree completely.
holds are something.
We also have
holds are
holds
something
in
I feel like-
stream as well.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I
The
think it was
mobile
in,
version of the game, and
I
that
think it
was
was
a
in
big thing.
stream. I think people have been trying to get it added into OS as well.
Yeah.
Because we used to have the slowdown section where we altered the BPM, but then we kind of got told we couldn't do that anymore. Which
Yeah.
kind of sucked.
Okay. Fort, what do you think? What type of mapping techniques do you think could be brought into the current mapping meta without everybody having like a super big aneurysm?
I think the high speed SV can be brought to yeah.
So
Now,
you feel like higher SV, like, so when you say high SV, are you meaning like over 3.6, which is our current cap?
yeah, that's cool.
I mean, it might be able to be playable, but it gets really ridiculous there for me. I mean, mind you, a lot of people don't play with mouse and keyboard anymore, and tablets kind of taken over the gamescape. But,
Yeah, but I think Cookiezi can do that then.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure, Cookie Z can do it, but what about poor me? I want to be able to play a map 2 years from now and not lose out on the hard because the hard's SV is like 4.5.
You gotta get into that.
Yeah,
You gotta get
That's-
Vintage HR.
it's kind of fast, but yeah, that's my fave. It's
I
my
hear you.
favorite.
That's cool. All right, Guinea Q, if you can ask Taeyang that question real quick, and we'll see what he's got to say.
오케이. 태영님은 지금 여기까지 지금 언랭크블 맵핑 테크닉에 대해서 좀 몇 가지 나오는데 그 중에서 지금 현재 맵핑 메타에 맞는 것들은 몇 가지 나열해 줄 수 있는지 그리고 왜
저는 이제 거의 대부분의 모든 이제 얼랭커블 요소가 이제 가능성이 있다고 보고 지금 현재 가장 가능성이 있다고 생각하는 건 무난하게 홀드 이제 뭐라고 해야 되지? 홀드 슬라이드 그런 거.
So actually, Taeyang sees possibility of all of these mentioned techniques being brought into current mapping meta. But then, of course, the most possible one, as you mentioned previously, he thinks it's the whole sliders.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely agree there. I think it's only a matter of time before they come in, if I'm honest.
pretty much. I mean, luckily I have the ever so awesome fact that I get all the email notifications on stuff that's going on pushed, which I really need to talk with Peppy about how much I could talk about on all that stuff, because there's really cool stuff going on that like nobody knows about, and I know the dev meetings are helping air that out, that more stuff's getting out, but I feel like, because I mean, Jamie's just been, well, Nekodex has just been going to town. If anybody else is keeping up with like the Gits and the dev track.
He's been going ham for like a good few months now.
Yeah.
Well, they need to. We're meant to be getting it out by the end of the year, so
Yeah, I mean, but he's definitely working on it real quick. All right, and Okarin, what do you think? Do you feel like all these techniques that we've been talking about can be brought into the current mapping, or are you on the fence about some of them?
I'm not really on the fence about like the 2B sliders becoming a thing. They do, but like they would need limitations in order to be not stupid. But I think we can work that out.
They
And
look better too.
and hold sliders, like I think they are about a thing right now already, because short repeating sliders like 1/8 or 1/4 and above are basically requiring you to hold on one point and wait until the slider does its thing.
Yeah, very much
So-
so.
They are a thing already, but only under certain conditions when there's a sound backing them up. So I would welcome the hold sliders actually being a rankable thing.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is if it did become a rankable thing, I'm pretty sure we'd get a new type of object to hit. The holds would probably look different than all the other objects. I also feel like if we did get 2-button sliders, maybe having the tick be a different color that indicated you'd have to hit it might be something that we could work, but that's all just speculation at this point. That being said, we can move on to the next question here. Mapping techniques aside, so this just goes to Fort and Tiang here. Mapping techniques aside, did you do anything else that would be outside of the normal ranking criteria? So did you like make adjustments to the HP in order to do something, or did you make adjustments in .osu that you normally couldn't do? Were there any outside altercations that you had to do to specifically go and break the ranking criteria outside of patterns?
I think I don't do anything to code.
Okay, so
I,
you didn't edit anything out of the OSU in normal, and that's fine. I kind of expected. I didn't know if people would actually do this or not, so it's not like it's a bad thing if you have to say no. It's no biggie.
yeah, oh, because editing.osu is really complex for me.
Yes, it is.
I just
incredibly
only know
complex.
I just only know how to do some zero stacks. Just that maybe.
Yeah, and that's fine. You know, being able to do the zero stacks, that's something that they do. Unfortunately, we really did try, guys, to get Monstrata here so we could yell at him about how awesome his butterfly sliders were. But I'm almost positive that was direct, like, code manipulation.
Absolutely was, yeah.
That
He
created
edited
that.
his OSU file very significantly.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff we were asking about there. And that's totally fine that you didn't have anything for that. I mean, it's not an easy matter by any means to go and do that stuff. I remember back when creating fake objects in the map that looked like the map was really the big thing to do, and even that wasn't a cakewalk. That's all stuff that you had to do. That being said, Guinea Q, let's see if Taeyang did any changes to his .osu outside of patterns.
Alright. 이번에는 그냥 패턴에 대한 매핑 테크닉 말고 일단 랭킹 크라이테리아가 많은 것들을 얘기하는데 특히 가장 이런 매핑 콘테스트에 쓸만한 게 오스 파일 그 자체에다가 수정을 가하는 것도 있는데 혹시 그런 거 적용한 거 있으세요?
딱히 그런 건 없는 것 같아요. 근데 이제 매핑하느라 정신 없어가지고 아마도
He said he was too focused on.
있다면 만약에 오디오 리드인이 이제 5,000으로 한 거 그 정도.
He says the only the editing he did on .osu file was the adding 5,000 millisecond audio lead-in, and he said he was too focused on making the patterns himself, so he didn't pay too much attention to it.
그리고 이제 히사 파일을 이제 그 스토리보드에도 이제 히사 파일 넣을 수 있잖아요. 그거 얼랭 커버인지 모르겠는데 그것도 넣었어요. 그것도 했고.
He doesn't know whether this is actually unrankable by ranking criteria, but he actually put the hit sounds into the storyboards themselves, he says.
Well, Ephemeral, that one's a tough one because...
That's an ancient rule, I think, but I think it is unrankable, yeah.
Yeah, it is technically unrankable, but no one ever does it anymore. No one ever does it anymore, so it's like, no one's ever touched it, but...
What was it, sorry?
It's a rule that's covered in dust. You're not allowed to storyboard hit sounds into the map set due to the fact.
Well, supposedly
that,
it's rankable, but it's discouraged, so it's kind of like guidelined, I guess.
Yeah, it got
According to my
guidelined.
resident quack.
Yeah, but so yeah, it just got guidelined. It was like one of them things not to do. But that is interesting to know that you went that route for it. It definitely turned out to be a really good map, all things considered. I didn't even notice that the hit sounds were storyboarded. So you did something right there. Like, good job. That being said, we can move on to the next question here. And this one is going just for you, Ephemeral. No, wait, hold on. Never mind. We still got one other one. God, my eyes are bad. Alright, so this one is to mappers again. So this is Fort and Taeyang. Did you guys have any idea of what you wanted to do going into this contest? Or did you just make it up as you went along? And Fort, you can go first.
I don't know what I want in here.
So you just kind of you saw the contest, you wanted to start it up.
Yeah,
and you just went with it. I mean, that's actually pretty good intuitiveness. Like, I mean, you got an honorable mention. The map set you made was pretty interesting, and for you just to go in there with like no actual idea of what you wanted to do.
This contest and the music is interesting, so I joined.
Cool.
I map, I SB, I hit zone, and I send the map.
I think that's
No.
kind of what we want. People just be like, hey, this is pretty cool. I'm gonna join in.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, I feel like, I can't speak for Monstrata, but I feel like if he were here, and it makes me mad because I know he can talk, but if he were here, I would assume that he probably went into that with that butterfly thing planned. Like, there's no way that could have been spur of the moment. That had to be, like, he might have listened to the song a couple times and then got the idea. But yeah, for it, I mean, I totally respect that. As someone who's mapped over 100 maps, I can tell you right now that very seldomly is there ever been a thing where I'm like, this is how I want this map to be. I just mold it and shape it till I'm happy with it. So I can totally get back behind that kind of mindset.
Okay.
All right, and Ginniku, if you could go ahead and relay that one to Taiyang for us.
All right. What was the question again? Sorry.
Yes, no problem. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do going into this contest, or did you make it up as you went along?
태양일이 이번 콘테스트 봤을 때 혹시 그 치밀하게 준비를 해가지고 사전에 준비를 하고 이 맵을 만들었는지 아니면 그냥 즉흥적으로 그냥 자기 그냥 기분 끌리는 대로 그냥 맵핑한 건지 그거에 대해서 궁금하다 하나요?
전 보통 한 3일 정도 한 준비를 해놓고 이제 해요. 이렇게 메모장에다가 이제 정리해두거나 그 다음에 비슷한 스타일의 이제 노래 한 7, 8개를 모아두고 이제 참고하면서 맵을 만들어요. 이번에도 그렇게 했고요.
So he says mostly when he's mapping, he finds like 7 or 8 similar songs and listen to it over the course of 3 days. And he also takes down notes on his notepad. So he has like a 3-day preparation before he starts mapping.
Okay, so he gets kind of an
Wow.
idea of what he wants to do with it. That's very impressive.
That's cool as hell.
I wish I was that determined. Like, now it just makes my 100 maps feel like they're just uninspired garbage.
It really showed in his entry though, like just the level of preparation. I think it really did reflect on how complete his entry was.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right, thank you so much for that reply, Taiyang. We're going to go ahead and go to our ephemeral question now that I accidentally messed up beforehand. When judging maps, you were only looking at creativity, just like me, ephemeral. So did you find it hard judging on that category alone? And what were some of the things you were looking out for?
yeah, I gotta say it's not the most fun of things to be limited to one category in the contest as diverse as Aspires, but it's basically founded in the tradition of the first contest, where Loctav and I originally came in after we noticed the judges' scoring was pretty flat, honestly, because a lot of them were judging to different metrics back then, and they were kind of ignoring the creativity aspect. So we decided to come in and judge the contest just on their creativity to kind of like give the contest a bit of a more creative bent, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very difficult judging on just creativity alone, because sometimes like you see maps that just pull off these really, really big technical feats. I'm not a particularly accomplished mapper by any stretch of the imagination, but I can definitely respect when skilled mappers do things well in beat maps from my time as a bat. So I've seen a lot of that in the contest, and it hurts to give it a 1 every time, I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. There's a couple there where like they had such like good hit sound execution and just the way everything in the map felt, and it's like you have to give it a 1. And
like pixel perfect hold sliders, and I have to give it a 1. Are you joking?
What really got me is like, unfortunately, not everyone read the rules. Like, they didn't read that we were only judging for creativity. So like, I got like blasted in mod help for saying I hate Monstrata, and I don't hate Monstrata. I just want to get that cleared out. I've never hated him. He's like, well, why'd you give all of his map nothing but 1s? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I gave it a 7.5, I do believe. He's like, no, you gave it all 1s. And I was like, oh, well, that's not good. Anyways, that being said, you know, I can understand. Like, was there anything that you were like looking out for though in specific?
Yeah, there was. Basically, Charles kind of spoiled me on the first Aspire, because when I came up with the Aspire contest and figured, oh, let's remove the rules and see what cool shit people do, Charles kind of just took this massive dump in my lap and was like, here's what you wanted. And then I kind of go into the Aspire contest thinking, oh, it's got to be this kind of Charles good, is what I call it. But I was just so surprised at how much more we got this contest than just that. We got this whole new kind of conception of what this cool shit could be. So I was actually really happy for that. So I went in looking for one very specific thing, one kind of like It's very, very specific execution of how I expected this Aspire contest to be. And I saw it a few times, and I gave them high scores, but then I just saw stuff like Monstrata's Butterfly Map, and I kind of just dropped my pants and was like, holy shit.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I know when you say Charles good, you're looking for things that are able to take polarity and use it with breaking the ranking criteria, but still holding the flow. And that's what Charles liked to do. That was basically Charles in a nutshell, you know. And like when I looked at it, yeah, I noticed you dropped your pants at the Monstrata thing. I didn't give it as high, and I feel like the reason I didn't give it as high is because I felt like the butterfly is amazing. It's beautiful. Everything about it's cool, but it's not playable. I mean, it's playable to a degree, but literally, it's just you're doing like a flutter in order to like stream, and you're praying that you don't die. You know.
That's what made it so impressive to me, though. The fact that you could have this big-ass, gaudy butterfly using these massive-ass sliders that really shouldn't have any purpose, you know, being in a map like this at all, because it just kind of looks like it would just break the whole thing. But he somehow managed to make that work, even just barely. And I think that just won me over straight away. Just that level of excellence, I guess, in the whole construction of the map.
Yeah, that was rather good. All right, well...
I just want to interject though, just so I'm not, you know, people don't think I'm sucking Monstrata off or anything. All the honorable mentions had some element of that in them. That's why they were honorable mentions. I'm pretty sure. I think it was all of our honorable mentions actually, or at least a vast majority of the judges. So all of us pretty much agreed that they did kind of something similar in their execution. That's why they were honorable mentions after all.
Yeah, definitely excellent honorable mentions. But you just broke me. I'm sorry. That was a little too much.
This is the fun
Monstrata,
part.
we're sorry. We're sorry, Monstrata.
It's super easy to take out of the screen, but how do you get past that?
No, you're not taking that out.
I don't think I can.
Okay, so let's move on to Orkarin's question. I know I'm not gonna get
Orin, say it again. You can cut that out.
Orkarin.
What?
There we go.
Don't know why it's so like. Let me just let me have that, okay? Let's regain composure for a moment. Whew. All right then. This was the first Aspire contest you judged. What did you think of the entries, and did you enjoy the judging compared to regular beatmap contests?
So, first things first, I judged the last regular mapping contest as well as a few unofficial mapping contests from, I think, the Italian mapping community. And I'm currently judging the ModHelp mapping contest, so I have a few things to compare this to. And compared to a regular mapping contest, Transform was a bit easier to judge because the entries weren't all like 3 minutes long and full spreads and like 12 minutes drain time to consider into your judging, as well as difficulty spread was basically every judge set it to 1, and that was it. And because the song was shorter, it was easier to get through the entries and really look for creativity only. What was harder about this contest is that some of the things were like, some of the maps were obviously broken, but you had to like evaluate how broken it is and if it's too broken or not, because we were looking for entries that were creative and also playable to a degree, but mostly creative. So you had to like decide a point where it's too broken or where it isn't. So that was kind of blurry about this one.
Yeah, I can understand that. It is a lot different from judging. I've judged on normal beatmap contests. I've judged it on. This is my first time actually judging for Aspire. I did not take part in the first contest myself either. So this was kind of an interesting situation for me. I know, like you said, the part of me is like wanting to tear this thing apart because there's so many things wrong with it. But you know, you're not looking for things that are actually wrong with it, because this is a contest where there cannot be anything wrong with it. It's how well the map interprets to the judges and how well it plays. So yeah, I feel like that's pretty decent. Now this next question is actually going to be for all the judges, so this is going to be me, Ephemeral, and Okran here. So this next one, the first winning Aspire map was a lot calmer than the monster that Monstrata created. Did you expect to see something so crazy and abnormal? And Ephemeral, you could take that away to start with.
I kind of went over this last time in the last question, I guess, but it was definitely something beyond what I was expecting to see as far as the contest goes. But I thought that same way about the first Aspire winner as well. So, yeah, I don't know. You kind of go into these contests thinking that there's going to be crazy shit in them, and you just kind of always get surprised at how crazy shit really is, I guess.
Yeah, I was not expecting a huge scripted birth of a butterfly.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I wasn't expecting that either.
Like that. Literally, my mind was full of what I didn't know how to take that, because I mean, I'm browsing through these entries, I'm going through them one by one. I'm giving out detailed notes, and I'm actually glad I saw a lot of comments from people this time. They might not have been super long, which is a good thing. We don't want to actually mod when we're doing these contests. We want to judge them. We don't want to mod them. Modding can be saved for after they win. But like when I was going through them, I just he's so cocky. Like I knew it was him when I read like his little thing, his description. He's like, "Oh, it's totally playable. Don't let the star rating fool you. This is gonna blow your mind." And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, "Well, this guy is so cocky. I don't know who he was at that moment in time." I'm like, "This isn't gonna blow my mind. Watch it be like nothing." And I'm going through and I'm like, "Hey, this is a pretty okay standard map." And then boom, butterfly in my face. Had no idea how to expect that.
Well, it's the cocoon that gives it away a little bit at first. You're like, "Oh, what's this? Oh, he did a poop slider. That's great." Whoa, it's a fucking butterfly!
Yeah, exactly. It changed completely. Okran, what do you think about this, though? You also had to judge here, and obviously you've seen the first Aspire winner, I would imagine. So.
I have seen the first Aspire winner as well as some of the other entries, because some of my friends entered, and generally the other entries were a lot calmer than this one's winner. But I also had a bunch of entries, or we also had a bunch of entries in this contest that were like completely rankable or something really, really calm. And
yeah, I agree with you there. There were sometimes I had to judge and give something a low creativity mark because it was so safe.
So ordinary. Yes. Yeah, we had a lot of those this time.
We had a lot of those this time, and I feel like we also had a few more of these crazy blow your mind things, because this time the rule post made it perfectly clear that you are supposed to break something with your entries.
Yeah, and
I think the last post was a bit more unclear on that.
Yeah, I feel like the last one was probably a little bit more safer, but now that we're kind of like, we've come to the point where we agree that, hey, these kind of crazy maps, people want them, people crave them, people need them, but we don't really want to like put them up as anything goes. But being able to throw up a contest where people can get what the crazy awesome what they want, and they could try that same song in so many different ways. Like, these contests are great for that kind of stuff. It gets it out of people's systems, because I know a lot of people, like, when they map, yeah, they'll map safe stuff, but not everybody always wants to push the edge. Like, when creating content, sometimes you want to make hard stuff, and sometimes you want to make easier stuff. It just depends on what demographic you're really wanting to map to at that aspect. And if you're just mapping for yourself, then the only limitation you have is how well you can play. Unless
and
you
your
like
own
making,
imagination.
Yeah, unless you like making stuff you can't beat. I gotta admit, I have at least one of those. I have one map I made that I can't play.
Me too! Except it's not for the reasons you think!
Gee, I wonder what map that could be.
Jesus.
Oh, man. Alright, let's see here. So, that's pretty much all that question here. This next one's a little bit touchy, but I kind of want to talk about it, and I want everybody to give their honest opinion towards this, and we could kind of discuss this a little bit if you guys would like to. Now, Before Transform could be ranked, there was some discussion on the thread about the map concerning Hard Rock. The winning map was unpassable with the mod, and changes were made to fix this issue. Now, do you guys feel that that really should have been done, or do you think we should have just had it ranked as it was?
Yeah.
And anybody can chime in on this and give your full just your full opinion on it. We'll start with Ephemeral. Don't worry, Deadbeat, you'll be able to chime in too. This is an everyone one. So go ahead, Ephemeral.
E comes before D. Heh. But
What universe? The wrong
yeah.
one?
I don't know. What I heard the chief issue with Monstrato's thing was the HP drain was making it impossible for hard rock players to actually pass the map. And, you know, that does beg the question, do we make, you know, minute, or do we make large changes to a map just so that one group of mod players can play it successfully when they're like, you know, a tiny fraction of the actual people that will play the map? But, you know, I think after everything's said and done, it probably should have been done, and it was probably right that it was done, because, you know, there's no real reason not to fix it. It wasn't a particularly involved fix from what I've heard. It was just, you know, some minor alterations that fixed the map in the end, so...
Yeah, luckily, basically all it did was new combo the entire butterfly. So now it's a rainbow butterfly, which still looks pretty awesome, in all honesty.
If it was anything more than that, though, like if it would fundamentally change the way the map played, like completely, then I'd probably be like, nah, just leave it as it is, because otherwise people aren't playing what we voted on then. It kind of defeats the whole point of the contest.
That's what I was saying. That was kind of my whole mindset going into it. Is like, I felt like, yeah, it could have been changed, but in all honesty, if Monstrata didn't want to change it, this is like the one time you can get away with pretty much anything within reason. And he was perfectly in reason to be like, no, I don't want to change it for hard rock people because I don't want the butterfly to be played upside down anyways. So that's why I made it with the drain that I had, so you can't play it with hard rock. He was trying to basically have people play it the way he envisioned it to be played. Which on most maps, like, that's fine and dandy, but like when it's a contest map and you're the winner, I feel like, and when it's a contest that breaks every rules, like, you could pretty much get away with it at that point. But that's like the only place. Like you said, it's probably better in the long run that the changes were made and adjusted, because it could have potentially created a whole bunch of drama that nobody would have wanted.
I think it did anyway, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, kind of. Fort, what do you think about the whole thing?
Yeah, me.
Well, Taeyang, you can go ahead and answer. It looks like Fort might be away for a moment, so, Guinea Q...
Oh, yes?
Okay, Fort's back. Were you paying attention to the conversation? Kinda?
Okay.
He's right, don't ask questions like that. What the fuck, man?
Well, I can cut it out, it's post-op, man! It's just
Fucking
like...
Put the poor guy under a bus, Jesus Christ!
Dude, you were saying don't panic the entire time! Anyway.
Okay.
Alright,
I think it's okay. Since that map rank only aspiring the mappers, and I think it can be worked with our hard rock mod. But well, the map needs some mods to make sure there is nothing really serious problem in the map and in other specific mod like hard rock. Well, that hard rock is unplayable for that map. I think the problem should be fixed because I think it can make the map more better.
And more
I
accessible
see
for all.
the issue like some sudden break warning and some ending triples on Monstata map is off screen, and that's why in the hard rock it's unrankable because you can click the off screen, right?
Yeah, but
Well-
what was the problem with it for it wasn't so much that it was going off screen, it was that the HP drain was too high and you die from playing hard
Yeah.
rock.
Yeah, that's need fixed too.
Yeah, and it was fixed, so you feel that it should have been fixed and that makes it more accessible to all players, correct?
Yeah, correct. It's better now.
Alright, well, That's cool. All right, and what about your opinion, Taeyang? Guinea Q, if you could ask that question. And the question, do you know what the question is?
Yeah.
All right, good.
그 이번에 몬스터타 맵이 이렇게 1등 했는데 그 랭크 되기 전에 그 좀 그 사건이 있었잖아요. 그 하드락으로 일단 패스하지 못하는 그 문제 때문에 그것 때문에 그 사람들이 불평을 해가지고 결국 그것을 언랭크 시키고 결국 고치게 했는데 그 태양이는 그거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하는지 그들을 더 써야 되는지 아니면은 그냥 그래도 수정을 가야 됐었는지.
만약에 이제 론에서 이제 PVT가 떨어진다면 굳이 수정할 필요는 없지만 이제 론킬을 유지하면서 충분히 수정해서 이제 맵킬이 증가가 된다면 수정할 필요가 있다고 저는 생각해요. 그러니까 제 생각은 충분히 이제 수정이 가능하니까 이제 얼랭에서 저는 수정하는 게 더 맞다고 봐요.
So he says if it affects the non-mode quality in a negative way by making those kind of changes so that it makes it playable for hard rock, then he thinks that it shouldn't be changed. But then if it maintains the non-mod play quality while making the changes so that the hard rock can be played, then he sees no harm in doing it.
Yeah.
But then the
that's
priority
perfectly
should be, and he thinks the priority should be the quality of non-mod play. But for this case, I think it's okay. He thinks it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, given
Yeah,
everything
that's
that
my
we said-
opinion too.
Oh, go ahead, Fort.
No, yeah, that's right. Taeyang is right.
All right. Go ahead, Deadbeat. What do you think about this whole thing?
See, I
And
like
we gotta
the
get Orcarin too.
Yeah, I like the idea of just ranking the entries as they were judged. Because when you start messing around with certain parts of the map, it also changes the map in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like even though there was a case in this specific example where the map was not partial with Hard Rock, I don't feel like that's a big issue. I mean, the map itself is a massive challenge without the Hard Rock, so I'm definitely in favor of having the Spire maps ranked or approved or whatever as they are.
Yeah, I kind of lean towards that side as well, but in this case, like where it was just that, it's probably better for the better that it got changed like that. But I would lean more towards like if you win a competition where there's no rules for the map and everybody in the judge bracket says you did good, you really shouldn't have to change nothing on it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for the normal contest, I mean, yeah, bit of modding here and there, but for the Spire, I mean, like, come on, they're supposed to be crazy and broken.
You know, what about you, Orcarin? What do you think?
I think you could like mod visual things out of the winning entry, like if there's something to comment on. And actually, this fix broke the map even more than it already was. So like, the fix that they did is that they forced all the sliders like to have them in two pairs, but to use the same combo color in succession. So they basically broke the .O's even more in order to fix this issue.
Yeah.
So actually, it's the coolest fix I could think of.
Yeah.
For
it is.
a hard mod play, like it's a really great compromise. In the end, this was all Monstratus this decision. So I have trouble saying that word. Because like he won the contest. The contest was to have no rules, and he basically reached a compromise with the community, and I think that's fine as is.
Yeah, I mean that's
But
like the best
if
way
he
to
didn't
do it.
want to compromise with people, then
Yeah.
he shouldn't be forced to.
Exactly. Like that's the only thing I was saying about it. Like I got into a little bit of heated Scuffy and Mod Help about it like 2 days after it had gotten like I thought it had gotten bubbled and then it got popped because they're like, no, you need to fix this in Hard Rock. And I told him ultimately I would just keep it as is and wait for Ephemeral to give you some kind of siding. But I told him I would have probably just let it be. But that's kind of just the way I was looking at it towards. That being said, we kind of got to speed this up a little bit. We are getting close to being over. So, that being said, this next one, are there any game modes you'd like to see Aspire in? other than like OS Standard? Do you think we could see a OS Catch one? Do you think Mania is possible? What about Tycho? I personally feel like only OS Standard and OS Catch can really fit what Aspire's trying to aim to. But I'd love to hear all your guys' thoughts on that, and we'll go with Ephemeral first.
I know there's a Mania contest running at the moment using the Aspire name that's unofficial, and we're actually looking at officially supporting it. So there does appear to be a demand for these Aspire type contests actually for the other game modes, and I could definitely see it working on Mania. I think we'd get some absolutely bullshit maps out of Mania that people would love the fuck out of.
I just feel like we get robots. I just feel like we're gonna get robot maps. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Mania can be mapped in a very creative way, but like if you have no rules towards it, it's just gonna be SB abuse. It's gonna be SB abuse all day.
Some people like that though. That's the entire point of the contest, really, is to push the mantle, I guess. One thing I couldn't see Aspire working on at all would be Tycho, though. I don't know how people would do Tycho Aspire.
There's no way to Tycho Aspire. I just don't see it. It's like, well, we're gonna let you put dons in your cats and cats in your dons. It's like that's just flipping up the switch. I mean, okay, that's not really aspiring to be much. Like, unless we added in a whole new code to the game where you could put red and blue on the same double hit, then I doubt that would be something you'd see.
You know, we say that, but I imagine people could do something out of the blue that we wouldn't expect with it.
Now, mind you, there was that weird map in the Tycho World Cup that these guys made with the storyboard somehow, and yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Deadbeat, already.
Are you talking about the one with the zero slider velocity?
Yeah, and it just
that
goes
glorious.
Go, stop, go. Yeah, so basically, the way they did this is they had it set to the song. You can't see the drum notes coming at all. All you could see is the light changing color over on the side, and the lady's like, go, stop, go, and you have to hit it like that. It was probably the most intuitive thing I've seen in Tycho ever.
Better than the actual game itself.
Better than the actual game itself.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the map that I think it was Tasha showed us.
Yeah, Tasha showed it. Yeah, that one that it starts off like a normal map and then everything disappears, and you're like, wait, what? And the map's still going, and you still have to play it.
I thought the Ghost
doesn't
one
show
was
you
one of the ones that someone else did. Because I've seen a few wacky Tycho maps before.
Yeah, it's one of those two. I'll have to find the link. I'll throw it up somewhere so people can see that. All right. What do you think about it, Fort? Is there any Aspire contest you would like to see coming soon that would be officially supported?
I think the other model can be Aspire contest, because the problem is the other mod can make some structures like standard maps. The standard maps is more wider.
Yeah, you have
you
have a higher creative access.
Like you can make a butterfly in Osu Catch, right? It's like impossible. If you made that, you should put many nodes in one timeline, so it can be hard for other mode.
I could see maybe you being able to take advantage of something in OS Catch and making, because it does use a vertical axis, so you do still have a little bit of control on it. But with the editor being limited at the moment, the problem I see would be being able to find out exactly how your fruit's going to fall and how you turn that into a shape. Now, I've seen people do hearts. I've seen people do like big waves and stuff like that, but I haven't really seen any. Like, I've seen lightning bolt patterns in OS Catch, but I haven't seen anything like really creative, crazy. But I'm almost positive you'd be able to mess with that editor to get that kind of effect.
Well, if that Aspire contest is for no fail, I think the catch bit can be okay for Aspire. As like I see some maps like 2B, it's the div name the catch labyrinth.
Yeah.
That and it's can be playable with no fail.
Yeah, there's quite a few catch maps that have no fail like no fail passes. And I don't know, seeing like Ephemeral, like if there were to be an Aspire contest for O's Catch, because it's kind of limited on what you can do, would no fail, like, would you tailor rules to each game mode to allow it to be like exciting enough?
I mean, you'd have to, otherwise it'd just be kind
Yeah.
of boring as shit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so like catch probably like for you bring up a very good point. Us Catch would probably have to be some type of no fail map in order for it to be like crazy enough and creative, because a lot of the really creative stuff you can do, like it's funny that you say something about dodge the beat, but who has 0%?
You're about 6 years late to that idea.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I feel like that would be something we definitely would have to talk about in terms of like being able to edit specific things to make other Aspire contests. And there might be official support for a Mania Aspire here shortly, if that one that's starting goes good, I guess.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on it, that's for sure.
All right, cool. Orkarin, what kind of game mode would you like to see an Aspire contest for?
I think all modes could support an Aspire contest. I have seen some pretty interesting Mania maps where some nodes like teleported in and then they went back up again, which completely blew my mind. And Mania could mainly screw around with SV, and also maybe I don't know if they can screw around with storyboards. Taiko could screw around with storyboards a lot in order to alter gameplay and, like you mentioned, that stop-go map. I have seen Gezo doing some maps like that, which completely take advantage of a storyboard, and in order to alter the gameplay of the whole map. Also, Catch would probably need to do something like Ford suggested to be playable, but I don't know that much about O's Catch in order to judge it. Like, in order to judge if it's reasonable to have an Aspire contest there. I do know that Taiko is planning an unofficial one. Mania is running an unofficial one right now, and so is also Catch. So there's obviously interest from the communities in one.
Yeah, and that's great to see that we have so much interest that people are running, because we're never against the idea of running community-driven tournaments. Like, that stuff's cool as heck to be able to see, especially when it pops up as quick as it does.
Just anything community-driven is awesome.
Yeah.
It's great to see people just take the initiative like that.
All right. So now, Taiyang, what kind of game mode would you like to see that in? For like, what difficult? Now I had a brain fart. I'm sorry. What game modes do you feel that Aspire would work best with?
이번에 어스파이어 콘테스트가 이제 집중적으로 스탠다드를 위해서 많이 열리는데 다른 게임 모드도 이렇게 가능성이 있다고 보시는지.
이제 결론부터 말하자면 이제 충분히 가능성이 있다고 생각해요. 예를 들자면 이제 태고는 슬라 변석을 사용하면 랭크가 되게 힘든데 랭크롤로 이제 1.4를 이제 유지하고 해야 되니까 어스피어리 열리면 이제 캐치 다음으로 가장 기대가 되고, 캐치는 스탠과 같이 이제 EB 슬라이드 패턴에 대해서 기대점이 크고, 매니아 역시 이제 노트 겹침이나 히사에 관해서 가능성이 크다고 봐요. 때문에 저는 이제 충분히 가능성이 있다고 생각해요. 세 모두 모두.
So to keep it short and reach the conclusion, he actually sees possibility in all three modes having an Aspire contest. So if you start off with Taiko, he sees like I think there's a rule in the ranking criteria that states like having the SP hard fix into 1.4 and 1.6 for all your difficulties. And if you uplift that, he thinks that he can see more interesting maps coming into play. And for the Osu Catch, which is the second most anticipated mode, he thinks using the 2B sliders and other interesting sliders that is also used in standard Aspire contest can also apply. And lastly, for Mania, he thinks he can see some interesting things coming in, with especially with hit sounds and note overlaps.
Yeah, I mean, I would, I didn't think about Mania because it's like, set to 7 lanes, and then I just totally remembered how much you can get away with when it comes to like hit samples, overlapping notes, everything like that. So yeah, that would definitely make for a really interesting contest. With that being said, we're going to get this close to wrapped up. We've got 2 more questions for Ephemeral, and then we are going to go ahead and call it. Unfortunately, guys, we did run a little bit over the hour, so there won't be community questions. But if the interviewees want to, at the end of this, they're more than welcome to take open questions, but we will be closing the talk for the YouTube channel at the end of these last 2 questions.
Can I take the last 2?
Yeah, go for it, Deadbeat.
I've kind of been a bit quiet this time
Sorry.
around. No, it's
I'm
fine.
sorry, Deadbeat.
It's totally my bad. Okay,
All
so Ephemeral, recently we were talking about how there's plans to make the mapping contests a lot more frequent. With that being said, do you think we'll see Aspire contests pop up more often, or do you think they'll stick to a yearly event?
I think as far as standard goes, Aspire will probably be yearly. I'll try to make it yearly, maybe twice a year if the demand is high enough for it. But the key thing with these kind of concepts is not to burn people out on them, because they're all right periodically. But if we have these things on like a monthly basis, people are just going to get sick of it after like 3 or 4 months. So yeah, mapping contests will be more frequently. We were talking about that in a dev meeting. Necodex has got a whole new system planned for that too, so we're going to have that set up.
If you guys want to have a look at what the new system is going to be, it will be very similar to the one that we're using for the current music
Remix
remix.
contest,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that is up if you guys want to go have a look at that. Awesome stuff, go listen to that. With the next Aspire contest, do you think we'll start to see maps draw the line more between just playability and visually pleasing, like with the whole butterfly effect? Or
I think we saw that this time, to be honest. Like, I think we already saw people kind of bridging that gap already. They were kind of like bringing in stuff that was also playable but also very visually pleasing. In fact, I think a lot, if not all, of the honorable mentions were maps that fulfilled both of those things. Like Taeyang's, for instance, was just blew us all away. In fact, I'm pretty sure it might have been second place if it wasn't for the auto fail technicality that happened. It was really real shame, that, honestly. But what can you do? Stuff happens. We had Rayo with his stereo hit sounds as well. We had all sorts of stuff this time, honestly. And I think as the contests get more aged and people kind of learn from what the past entrants have done, we're going to see more things like that happening, more interesting things that are just more than just this is a really hard beat map kind of thing that we saw in the first Aspire. So yeah, I think we will. I think we'll see more things coming out of the Aspire contest in the future. So it'll be interesting to look forward to.
Because I know personally it's like a 50k scrub. I can't play any of these Aspire maps, so it's still kind of fun just to put on autoplay and just watch Auto go nuts on these sort of things.
We actually kind of said in this contest that we wanted people to try and make stuff more playable, but it became very obvious as we were judging it that it was people didn't really pay much attention to that rule, so we kind of just unspokenly stopped considering it. Things weren't too bad, thankfully, but yeah, if we'd actually held up to that difficulty mandate, we probably wouldn't have very many qualified maps in the contest. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, there would have been a whole lot.
Yeah, I feel like the current regime, I guess, worked really well.
I think the best rule set for Aspire is as little rules as possible, which is basically none.
Which is basically the idea of Aspire.
Yeah.
Go
so
nuts.
the less we touch it, the better.
Pretty much, yeah. I think that about covers it.
Yep,
good
that
anything
is
else,
going
Sounds
to
like
wrap it up. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone coming out, and I want to thank Taeyang personally for being our first translated guest to the OS Talk. Thank you so very much. Genikyu, if you could relay that message for me, I'd appreciate that quite a bit.
태양이 이번에 이번 오스토크 이번에 참여해주셔서 너무 감사하다고.
저 이렇게 전해주세요. 진짜 제가 진짜 첫 번째 이제 MBC 12번째 대회에서 우승하게 되고 이번에도 좀 우승하지 못해서 조금 아쉬운데 그래도 이렇게 관심 있게 이제 봐주시고 이제 이런 인터뷰에도 초대해 주셔서 이제 감사하다고 운영진에서 그렇게 전해주세요.
He said when he first won the monthly beat mapping contest number 12, 13, I don't remember.
Well,
12, yeah. He was really happy when he won that, and then he is also very honored to have gotten the honorable mention for this Aspire contest as well. So he really thanks the administration for inviting him over for this interview.
Not a problem. by
I'd like
any
to
means.
personally thank you for actually helping out. Like, this is really awesome.
Yeah, thank you too, Guinea Q. Much appreciated.
Thanks so
I-
much.
Not a problem, Taeyang. You did really well with the monthly beat mapping contest, and you did absolutely astounding on the Aspire. You might not have won, but you definitely did good. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. This should be out in about a week or two. This one might take a little bit longer to clean because we had a little bit of complications. It might be a little bit longer than anticipated, but it will be out there. And remember, Rhythm is only a click away, and we'll see you all real soon.